Welcome back, everyone, to episode 3 of the Mountain Fuji in Springtime panel painting project thing. Yeah. Okay, so where we left off, I was working on putting the actual foliage back, and that's about it. So what we're going to work on today now is probably a little bit more foliage. I did change it slightly off camera, added a little bit more highlights. I'm trying to figure out, do I want to do the cherry blossoms now, or do I do the lake first? So I guess we're going to find out. So I decided I was going to do the lake first, and there's a lot more to do in the painting that you'll see later than just straight going to the cherry blossoms, because I'm eager to get to those, but I need to do a lot more of the background painting before I get to that. So here I'm just wetting the canvas just to see if it will make it easier to spread the paint around. It kind of didn't in the end, so I ended up just watering down the paint itself and just painting directly. And so I just started adding some deeper blue. I probably could have done this easier and just left some of the white in the center, and then so I wouldn't have to go back through it later, but I'm still learning, like I said in all my other videos. Yeah, the canvas kept moving, the one on the right, so I kind of had to keep fighting with it. But this is my 3-inch brush. It works good for spreading like it usually does. I'm just adding some darker paint around the edges of all the land masses, and trying to get a little bit more of that realistic color fade from light hitting the water. And here, just about to add some a little bit of faded white. So it's white mixed with a little bit of blue, just to give it a little bit less of a harsh kind of contrast. But I ended up just throwing on actual white in the end anyway, just to give the rest of the highlights for where the light would fall on the water, kind of right in the middle about. Just going back and forth with the brush, kind of blending the colors together a little bit better. I mean, I could have probably just left it how it was, like this, but I wanted to have a little bit more contrast, so I added a little bit more white in the center. And here, just adding a little bit more dark shadow, that darker blue color, help bring out a little bit more of that contrast, because it faded a little too much on the sides, but in the end it worked. To give it a little bit more of a realistic water look. I mean, that's what I was going for, so. And just starting to put a little bit of this darker blue in here, a little bit of, it was a mixture of colors to kind of make this dark bluish green. It's meant to be the reflection from the trees. So I ended up taking just a 3/4 of an inch brush and just dabbing some paint on it, and then take the 3-inch brush and just kind of pulling it down and then smearing it back and forth. In retrospect, I think those trees are a little too far away. I mean, technically it could work if they were closer, but I'll probably end up just painting over them at some later date, or these reflections, and redoing them with the cherry blossoms, since the cherry blossoms are going to be taking up most of the green, quote-unquote, grass areas. Like I say in all my other videos, I'm just doing this because I want to, and the wife, asked me to, and I'm a professional at it, so what I'm doing right here is just adding some darker, like brownish color, like a brown to indicate like soil, or like the side of the pond or the lake or riverbank, whatever you want to call that. I'm going to add a bunch of highlights later to make sure it actually doesn't look just like starkly brown like that. But I think originally I used colors that just didn't work right. I ended up fixing them, more later. I still got to figure out how artists like, Kevin Hill do this, or Chuck Black. They seem to just go at it and then, paint and objects and things appear on the canvas without a lot of work behind it. I mean, they obviously do a lot of work, but like they just make it look so easy and simple. So me, it's just a lot of layering and a lot of trial and error, honestly. Here I'm just adding some higher, lighter color browns in there. Try to fade that dark brown up towards more of the green color. Some of the paints here, I just watered them down so they weren't so strong when they went on the canvas, like right there. I just kind of put a little bit of water in there, mixed it up, so it would spread a little bit more evenly, but also wouldn't be as strong of a color on top of the other colors. So here, it was time to add a little bit more green, kind of fade the brown into the actual green in the background there. So just a mixture of some green and yellow, and then just tapping it in, try to make it look a little bit less contrasted, just a little bit more of a fade. Further working on the fade, add a little bit more green to the foliage and the background trees, just to make it blend a little bit better. And bring a little bit more detail on those trees so they're not so dark. In the end, the cherry blossoms are going to kind of cover a lot of that. But like I said in, I think, episode 2, it's best to get more detail in, because then, you know, the painting just pops a little bit better. I was looking at a reference photo for Mount Fuji, and I realized that they actually does have some prominent hills and, you know, smaller mountain, like ravine features that, you know, spread up the side of it. So here is, I started doing it here, just kind of adding a little bit here and there. I didn't realize that the main piece there that I was doing right now is a little short compared to the reference photo, so I ended up changing it later. But I was just adding a little bit more of that darker blue color to add some outlines, different variants of the mixed colors for the rest of the mountain, and then a little bit more of this lighter blue color to give the highlights. I may have overdone it with the hills. I probably should have just made like ravines trailing down, but I mean, I can always change it later because the painting is not done yet. So we shall see. The mountains changed more than anything else in this whole painting. So we'll see what happens. One thing I'm going to end up doing is I might do a slight blue wash on the farthest back hills, and maybe a little bit more of one on the nearer ones, the ones right there in the center. That way it kind of looks like there's a little bit more distance. And here I was adding a little bit more of that blue color, that lighter blue, try to fade it up a bit, because putting these extra hills in, you know, give it a little bit more of a depth in the painting. It kind of faded out that misty, hazy blue fade that's at the bottom of the mountain. And here I started adding a little bit more detail, a little bit more hills, just try to make it fade back farther. I mean, I eventually add more of that blue in there in the end, but I wanted to make it look a little bit, well, like I had a little bit more depth, so I added some smaller faded out hills. And as I was painting, I kept adding more to these little hills, making them a little bit taller, just because I didn't want it to look so flat back there, like all the little hills leading up to it were flat, even though Mount Fuji itself does basically just jut up from the ground. But there are hills that lead up to it, so I was trying to emphasize that just a little bit. All right, since this video is about the end of the limit the phone can handle, I appreciate you all for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and all that. It helps me out, helps me keep the wife happy, because these are all for her. I will see you all in the next video. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you. Bye.